This is a float sensor that is located in the bottom tanks of all Aquafire and Prestige series fireplaces. It's a magnetic reed switch that floats up and down and controls the amount of water that is in the mist chamber itself. If you look down inside the mist chamber, you'll notice that the mist maker in the bottom has a black mushroom cap. The proper water level is that the water is just flush or just ever so slightly above that black mushroom cap. If you see flames dissipate on your unit or not coming up, what you'll first want to check is that whether the water level in this tank is correct or not. I'm going to simulate now what a high water level looks like just to show you, but do not do this at home. I'm actually adding additional water to the unit to show you now that I have a lot of water over top of the mist rack. The more water you have in it, the less flames you'll see produced. To simulate that, I'm going to put the cap back on and I'm going to start the fireplace up. You'll now see that I have hardly any flame on this side of the unit compared to what's on the left side of the unit. The higher that water level becomes, the less mist you'll have, to a point that you'll absolutely have no mist at all if the water level is too high. Again, I'm only doing this to emulate what will happen. And again, you'll see how there's much smaller mist over here than what's on the left side. And the higher the water level is, the worse it will get. When you see that and you open this up and you look down in and you see that the water level is high, the way to do it, to clear it, is to unplug and remove the mist rack, dumping any excess water off and setting it on top. It's critical that you unplug this cord before you lift that unit out. Once you've got the tank open, depending on your series and whether or not you can work with a drain pump, a siphon hose, or even a shop vac, all of these methods will drain the water out. If you have a Prestige series, you can remove the cap cover on the nozzle. You can put your hose on here. You can get a small bucket because you're only going to drain a little bit of water out, and you can use the drain pump by simply holding it, and it will drain the water out that way. Once the water level is the correct height, you can stop the drain pump. If you have to put this back in to check the water level, you can. For the Aquafire series, you will not have this internal drain pump, in which case you'll have to use either a siphon hose, such as this, by placing it down into here, placing the other end in the bucket and start suction on it to get it to drain, or you can simply use a shop vac that is a water vac and come down in and just suck the water level to where it gets down to the right height. The reason I show you this is you want to get the water level down to the correct height before you start the next phase, which is to actually plunge the unit out. So what you're going to want to do now is use the mist rack. You can leave this unplugged, but you're going to use the mist rack to create a wake. And sometimes this will take 20 or 30 times. What you're doing is you're forcing the water in the bottom tank to bounce this float sensor. Somehow your float sensor has gotten stuck in the down position and it's allowing the unit to overfill because this is not moving up. So all you're doing with this plunging method is to create a wake in the tank that will free up the float sensor. You'll be able to hear the float sensor bounce if you listen for it after your last movement. Once you hear that little rattle sound, that's an indication that the float sensor is now free and clear and the unit should run properly. You can plug it back in and you can test it. If by chance the flame doesn't come back up to the right height, there's a good chance that you may not have gotten it completely cleared. What'll happen is the tank will run for a while and then it will overfill again, signaling that that float is still not clear. Again, listen for the float and you can hear it bounce when it's cleared.